Hello guys, today I will be starting one long video. Okay, so let's actually get started. So in this discord.py course, I'll just be telling you what you'll be getting today, and that's basically it. So what you'll be getting today is you're gonna get some basics on how to make a Discord bot according to me, or basically just everything that I know about Discord bot. And then you'll also be getting some basic Python too along the way, of course. And then I'll just tell you how to create your first Discord bot. Sorry. Okay, before we actually get started, please make sure to like and subscribe. I've barely said this at all. Well, not barely, I've never said it. Maybe, I guess I think I've said it before, but anyways, if you like, just share it. Okay, so let's get through what we have to do now. So what you'll need on today, what you're gonna need is you're gonna need Python, which everything here I'll just be telling you how to get them. So alright, you're gonna also need an IDE. An IDE is basically how you the app you use to create or basically just code anything, really. Like if you're trying to code a website, a Discord bot, I don't know, like basically everything, you're gonna need an IDE. Then of course you're gonna need a Discord account, and of course you're gonna need a little bit of Python experience. This is optional, but it will make you understand each topic that I'll be covering today more easily. And of course you need patience. Alright, let's get started, shall we? Alright, so let's get started. As I said, you're gonna need to install three things, or yeah, basically 2 to 3 things. Actually, 2 things. One is basically what you need. These 3 things are, of course, first of all, we're gonna need Python. So just go to http://www.python.org, or you can just type in python.org, and you're gonna be in this page. So according to the Python version which I have, let me check. So I'm currently using Python 3.12.6, but you can actually go a little bit higher. I just don't guarantee it will work. Anyways, so just go to downloads, and according to what OS you have, just choose that. I'm using Windows, as you can see here, so I'm just gonna choose Windows. Fun fact, if you do Control F, you can enable the search bar. Just search in Python 3.12.6 or whatever. It's 5, 4, 7, 9, I guess. So just go to that. Let me just do that. Okay, so after you're here, just click here and just scroll down. You're gonna see files, and you're gonna see all of these things here, and let's get started. So according to these, just check which version of Windows do you have. So for me, I have the 64-bit, and I think every one of you guys have 64-bit, but if you have 32-bit, it's fine. So yeah, you can also install for ARM, for Mac OS. Okay, so just press Windows installer. This should pop up and just install it, but I already have it, so I'll just show you how it works. I have a newer version of this, so I'm just gonna help you guys to see it. So upon opening, you're gonna see this page, right? Actually, no, you're gonna see something like, let me see. You're gonna see, let me install again. Okay, so when you open your your Python for the first time, make sure this is checked at python.x to path, and then you can press install now, and it should work. Since I'm using 3.12.6, which I should have, I'm not sure why it's not here, but for me, I have it. Press this and press install now, and it should work. Don't press cancel, by the way. I already have it. So alright, so after you have this, you're gonna have to choose your IDE now. So for IDE, we have a couple of options here. So we can, sorry, let me bring this up. So you can actually choose one of these. So today we're gonna be using Visual Studio Code, or I'll be saying as VS Code because it's also how you call it. You can also get Sublime Text, but I don't really use it, and I don't really recommend anyone to use it. Or if you're too lazy to download one, just use your ordinary notepad or whatever. And lastly, you can also use PyCharm Community Edition, not Cheat Engine, or you can just go pay it for them and then just use, you know, professional. And there's a lot more, but I can only list these things here because my brain's too small. All right, so as I said before, we're gonna need an IDE. I'll be using Visual Studio Code. Just press download and just, you know, follow what they said. Follow what they want you to do. Just if there's the path, just press path and just press add to path. Sorry, and then just, you know, finish install it. I recommend you guys to also restart your PC after you finish. All right, so with that out of the way, I think we're fine now. So let's get started. First of all, open Visual Studio Code. That's the first thing you have to do. Alright, so we have test here. This is gonna be our folder. So when you come up here, you're gonna see some couple of stuffs. So you're gonna have to see some things like this. There should be like walkthroughs and some other things here. But I recommend you guys press here instead. So press new file and type in main.py. Alright, type in main.py, and then after you type it in, I'm just gonna teach you guys some basic Python first. Let's, you know, get through this, I guess. So basic Python, actually I'll just teach you guys inside the Discord, you know, so you guys can do both at the same time. Anyways, so let's get started with Discord first. Sorry, I have so much started today. Yeah, let's get started. Alright, let's start with basic Python. So before you actually start anything, let's set up for Discord first. Come to discord.com/developers/applications and then press new application. Name this anything you want. Yeah, let's name it testbot. And then make sure you tick this and press create. It's just gonna ask you to confirm, you know. Okay, so now you're gonna be in this page. It's pretty self-explanatory. Well, not really, but it's fine. So this is the page you're gonna be editing for the most part, except the name. You're gonna be putting description. So let's say, you know, just type random things in. Okay, these pages are not important yet. This is this section that's more important. So just press it there. You're gonna be in here. It's just gonna say bot1 blah blah blah. Or you can just name it here first, but I name it testbot, whatever. Test 1 2 3 4 6. Let's see if it works. I'm not sure if there's any bot with this name, but whatever. Okay, so yeah, I'm just gonna tell you, you're gonna need a token. So here's where the token is. I really should zoom in. Okay, so alright, so now we have this. That might have to be too loud. Okay, this is the token. This is basically the password for your Discord bot. Make sure this shouldn't be public, or shall I say just reset it every day or so. I always you know, I always reset it every single day if I have this exposed, but if I don't, then I'll just reset it I don't know, every you know, now and then I'll just reset it. So just copy this for now. I'll make a new file. So this is gonna be your token. Let's just do token equals this, and I think that's all you need. Yes, that's all you need. Okay, so now the next thing you have to do is go to file, open terminal. Is it no terminal, new terminal here? All right, or you can just open here and just go to that directory, which is, you know, what you set it there. So let's say my directory is f coding. Sorry, let me just do F first. So let's say my directory is F coding test. This is my actual directory, by the way. So this and this is basically the same because I'm in PowerShell. This is also PowerShell, as you can see here. So the first thing you're gonna need to do, I'll use this. Okay. So the first thing you're gonna need to do is you're gonna have to install discord.py, or just type in Discord. So how you can do that? Well, to do that, you can do pip install discord and just press enter. it should go to installation and something, but I've already have this installed, so it's fine. Let me check my version. So I'm using 3.12.6 as I show you guys. Okay, so just run this, and if everything ends without an error or some red text there, that means that your thing is good now. So alright, what are we gonna do next? Well, to say the least, we're gonna be making some basic Python stuffs first. So okay, so let's import discord.py first. So import discord. Now what happens next? Ignore these things, by the way, it's my codium. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna do some, let's run our bot for the first times. This is not in here yet, so I'm just gonna hold on. Okay, okay, you know what, it's fine. So let's actually run our bot for now, but before we run the bot, we're gonna need to invite our bot into the server first, and this is how you're gonna do it. You're gonna go to OAuth2, and then you're gonna scroll down to this section that says OAuth2 URL generator. Press guild. I'm just kidding. No. Press bot. I think, yeah, it is here. So press bot, and here's where you can figure out the permissions you're gonna give to the bot. But if you're lazy like me, just press administrator. And the best thing is if you want slash commands, press applications.commands too, and these should be the only thing you need. And then you scroll down, and that's all. This is the invitation link, so just press copy, and I'll just paste it here for now, and you can click here and just press it on the server, continue, authorize, and I am human. Okay, so there we go. So this is our server. Okay, so now what we're gonna do next is, since our bot is in the server, let's actually make the bot run first. So we're gonna be defining a variable. We're gonna define a variable. So we're gonna define a variable called bot, or you can also do client, but doesn't matter. This is wrong, by the way. This is if you do not want any commands, or you want to just put it on events. You eventually know what it is. So you're gonna do is just type in anything. Let's say test equals, and then let's say just to say print hello world. And then if you try typing test here and then just run it, this will only appear if you actually have the Python extension installed. But if you do not have it, type in Python and then main.py, and now it should redirect to this, and it will print in hello world. Exactly, that's pretty easy, right? So this is how you create a variable. A variable is basically something like, let's say how should I say this? A variable is basically a keyword that basically redirects to what the bigger function is. So let's say test is equals to print to a plus b, and it should give you this error because we do not have a and b as a variable. So let's say a equals 5, b equals 2, and then we just print test. Also, before you run, press Ctrl S to save this, and then let's run it again. So 5 plus 2, 7. This is basically how basic Python works. But all of this aside, let's get serious. So let's do bot equals command. Oh, before that, from discord.ext, which stands for extension, import commands. This ensures that command is here. So what you're gonna do next is bot equals commands dot bots, and then here you can follow this, by the way, because it's correct. So command prefix is equals to exclamation mark. This is basically how MEE6 works. In case you don't know what a prefix is, so normally if you use something like MEE6, it's basic commands, you're gonna need to use this, right? The exclamation mark, and then let's say ping, and then you press enter. The bot will respond back. So the exclamation mark here, this is what you call a prefix. So let's say if I want it to be $, you can also do that. All right. So this is basically what it is, and you only have this much. You can already run it, but before you run anything, you have to do is bot.run, and inside here you're gonna need to use the token you just gave. So this is the token we have, right? Just copy this, or you can just copy this and just press it on the main file. Just make sure you have quotation marks on. So token equals that, and then after that you can use the token variable, press it on the bot.run. This is basically all you need. And then when you press run, or when you just type in that, oh no, typing extensions, I see. Okay, let me see. Okay guys, so I'm back. I installed Python again because the newer version doesn't work, as I mentioned before, but now it should work. So if I run this again, as you can see, oh, again, really? Oh, okay. This is a great time because I have to mention that right now Python basically tells that you have to enable some. So the coding stuff is basically called Python, how should I say it, the presence privilege gateway intent. These are the things you have to enable. So I'm not sure which one you have to enable, but for me, I just enable every one of them, and this should work. Just press save changes. Alright, so now we're back. Let's run this again. Now there should be no errors. There's gonna be this, but now you're gonna be asking, what happens next? Well, if you go back to Discord, your bot is now online, and that's pretty cool. So this is how you run Discord bot for the first time. Alright, so now after we've installed Python and stuff like that, and we have run our bot, as you can see here, let's now basically just talk about events and what it is before we actually try to send our first message. So what is an event? Normally, if we talk about events, it would be something like New Year, birthday, your birthday. I don't know, there's a lot of events in daily lives. So now those are normal events, right? Well, in Discord.py we also have events too, but on other, on other behalves. So if you have seen coding languages like Scratch, not Python, sorry, like JavaScript, C++, C Sharp, C, and other stuffs, you're gonna know what an event is. In case you did not know, then I'll show you how it looks like. So this is our basic Discord code right here. So let's start with an event. So to start with an event, let me stop the Discord bot. Good time to say, to stop a Discord bot, press Ctrl and C on the terminal, of course. Sorry, Ctrl C, and if this comes up back, or the PS and your directory, if it comes back, then it's correct. So let's talk about events, as I said before. So to do an event, we have to know what a decorator is. A decorator is essentially functions that are, how should I say this? It's like a function that has a wrappers inside, which inside the wrapper is basically the function. So this is how it works. So let's say I defined test, which we're gonna be talking about the function soon, and let's say I have func here. So there's gonna be a thing called def wrapper inside here, and inside the wrapper it's gonna do something that the function tells it to do. So, and then it's gonna return the wrapper inside the test function. So let's say if I want to do a decorator, you're gonna start with add test. This is called a decorator. So if I do def test2, and then in the test I tell it to print test. This is basically how decorator works. So now you can do test2, and if you run, as you can see, it's gonna print test. So something like this is how a decorator works, and this is basically the starter of the decorator. This is the main function that has a wrapper inside, and that's basically what it is. So A decorator is this. The one starts with an at. In this core.py though, we're not gonna be using like this big ass function. We're gonna be using only this part. This is already implanted inside the plugins. So let's get started. So to make an event, we do at bot.event. Ignore this again, by the way. Bot.event, and I'll tell you what's the difference between event and commands. So first event is called async def on ready. As this says, it should be obvious, but if we do async def on ready, oh, it doesn't work. Whatever, I guess. So what an on ready event says is that when the bot is ready, or aka when it is online, it will do something inside the function here. So what it's gonna do here, let's print online. Let's do this for now. Alright, so run the code and see what happens. Online. Now you may have seen that the statement I just said before is not 100% true. Why? Well, in order for this to be printed, the bot has to be online first, and then there's gonna be a slight delay from the API. According to my brain, there's gonna be a slight delay, so when it's actually ready, it's gonna have some delays before it actually prints out this thing, or sent to this. So that is basically how you actually create events. There's gonna also be another event that I can show you, which is called on message, and in the bracket here you just say message. So let's say if message.author equals bot.user, this essentially says if whoever sends the message is a bot. So if you have lots of bots inside your server, and if you try to run a command, or the bot tries to run a command and it detects that it is a bot, then it's just gonna do something inside this function. For now, we're gonna want it to return. So just make sure you have this. I'll talk about it later. So after you have this block, this is basically like the main block here. So let's say if you want to do if message, let's say if you want to try commands inside an event first. So let's say if message.content.starts with $, then we're gonna check. So this is what we call a prefix checker, or something you want to call it. So inside here, it basically checks if the first letter of the message, let's say you want to do is $hello. So in this message, the first letter or the first character is the $, and a $sign is a prefix. So the prefix is in here. So if it is correct, then it do something inside this block. But if it's not, then it just ignores. So let's say we're gonna do a command called ping. So if message.content.start, if message.content equals hello, or should we just say $hello, so it doesn't cost anything. Actually no, let's do ping. Then we're gonna want it to basically send the message back. So we do await message.channel.send, and then we send something, let's say pong. This basically says that, oh sorry, so this basically says that if the message is ping, then it will send the message back as pong inside a channel where the message is at. So now, do you think we're complete? If you said yes, then you're kind of correct. If you did not add this line before, then it's not gonna work. Trust me, it's not gonna work at all. The reason that this will not work is because, first of all, this command is a processor, so this will process every single thing inside here. So that means that this should be at the last line of on message. So let's say if you have like 10 commands inside an onMessage function, then this should be at the last line. So what this does, as I said before, it will process every single thing inside the onMessage event, and that's basically events explained for you. Let's run this command now. Also do clear if you want to clear terminal, by the way. Okay, so let's run this. As you can see, it says online, so no errors yet. Now let me delete this, by the way. So if you try running $, ping, then it responds back pong. This is not a command yet, by the way. This is just inside an event. We're gonna be talking about commands later. So before we actually go, I just wanna add one more thing. If message starts with this, but if it's not that, then we do else, and then we just do this. So this basically says if it starts with this, but the message is not in one of these things, then it will just yield invalid command. In case you want to see that live, let me try this. So let's try this again. So let's see, we just do $hi. This is an invalid command because inside here we don't have that, and if you check again, it says here too. But if you try to run $ping, you're gonna immediately see that it responds back pong. But if you go back and check here, let me do full screen, it's gonna say ignoring exception in command none, because we did not make an actual command yet. All of this is inside an event. So what we can say is that this is not an actual command. This is just a message detecting for an event. Alright, that's basically all of it. Now let's get to commands. The last time we are talking about events, this is basically all the events does. It basically does more. If you want to see what it can do, you can also go to Discord pi.readthedocs.io. This is basically the documentation for discord.py. There should be commands, the commands extension, and the task extension. This should explain a lot more, but it's a lot more advanced. So if you know stuff, then you can actually use this. But if not, then it's fine. So if you want to see more, just go events. Just type in events, and it should work. So discord.event. I'm not sure where it is. You're just going to find it yourself. And that's basically what the first part of this is. So now let's talk about commands. So as you can see, this is an event. This is not an actual command, except two of these. Back to our coding station, or whatever you wanna call it. Let's do a command. So if you want, you can actually comment these. You can actually comment these things off. So just do hashtag. This is basically how you comment these things out. Hashtag. But it's slow, right? It's certainly slow. If you're in computer, you can do control slash front slash, by the way, this slash. This basically comments out the section. Now let's actually do an actual command. Let's make the bot actually do so. So what we have done is we have made a kind of command. So let's get started. So to make a command, it's basically the same thing. You use the same decorator, except you change event to commands. So you do bot.command, and make sure you have this bracket thing. What this bracket does, I'll tell you what you can also put inside. Inside is just, if you want to put the name in, yes you can, but normally no one actually puts it in, except if if you want to put, sure. Now enter and do async def. Let's make a test command. So let's do test. So in this test command, you're gonna have to put in context, which is ctx. What ctx does is basically, I'm not sure how to explain this, but it's like the thing you use. It's like, I think it's like the command. So let's say when you're trying to run something, you do $test, and the $ test is basically the CTX, or we call it context. Now we can now do await ctx.send, and let's do test. This is one form of sending message, by the way. We can also do await ctx.channel.send, and lastly we can also do await ctx.author.send. Now what each of these does is basically this sends a message to where the channel is. This basically does the same thing. This sends it to the user's DM. Okay, so what these do is I'll just do test send to a channel, send to a channel 2, send to your DM. Now this is the proper way to actually install commands into the bot itself. So let's try it out. We don't need to call this, by the way. This is already completed on its own. So sorry, this one here. Now if you try doing test, you're gonna see this is sent to a channel. This is also sent to a channel too. This is what two of these things does. And the author.send sends it to the user's author DMs. So this is test sent to your DM. Alright, that's basically all for commands. We can also do more things. Let's say if we want to accept something like, let's say random from 1 to 50. Here we take 3 parameters. The first parameter is called the context. The second one is KW. So this is also KW arcs. So this is how it's done. In the .test we're gonna have CTX arcs and then KW arcs. So the arcs and KW arcs, or you can say quarks, these things are basically arguments. So since we have the random command, we're gonna have to add some more things too. Let's do bot.command first. Okay, async def random. Now this is pretty much what we have to do, but the thing is that we're using random, and Python doesn't have a built-in randomizer. Well, I mean it kind of have, but you're gonna have to, but it's not the kind that you can actually just type in right now, like random.choice. This is pretty much not possible. But to random, you do import random. This module is basically what we're gonna use the most for randomizing. But since we're doing 3 arguments, then we're gonna have to do random.randint. What randint does is that it takes the first number. So let's say 10 to 100. What this means is that it will randomize numbers from 10 to 100. So it could be something that is 10 from 10 less than or equals to n less than or equals to 100. This is basically what it means. This is like the intervals. So the numbers from here to here, and we let n as the the result. So this is basically numbers that you can get from the first value and the last value. Since we're taking 3 values, we're gonna do ctx start value int and then end value int. Now you're gonna be asking, what does these do? Well, first of all, these 2 are variables. As I said before, variables are something you use to extend, or basically a short form of a word that means the better. Let's say in here we have bot.run token. Token basically redirects to this. So that means in the start value and the end value, these are arguments that are actually variables. So we can basically just do start value here and end value. This basically does is it's do that. It just randomizes things up. So we can do ctx.send, and then we can do your number is plus with let me actually make a variable for this too. Rand equals that plus rand dot. Now you're gonna be asking, what are these things doing? Plus is basically how you connect things here. This is the first form of how you can put a variable inside a print function or a send function. I'll show you more later. This is basically what we have now. So we can run this. Okay, it's online now. So as I said before, we have a command called random, and random basically takes a value from something to something. So let's say random from 10 to 1000. We press enter. Command has no attribute random. Let's do randomizer. Let me see. Hey, it's online. So we can now do $sign randomizer 10 to 100. So because we're having the same value to random plugin, we cannot use random. We have to put something else. So we had to put something like randomizer, or the second method is import random as something. So let's say we're gonna use RD, so we can change random to RD, and then here we can just do random. This is what we can actually do. So let's do this. Alright, it's enabled now. So we can enter this now. But how should I say this? The Discord bot doesn't actually support integer inside the function. So that's why we can also use a thing called f-string. So what an f-string does is that it basically puts a variable inside a string. But instead of actually having to do a tedious task of using plus, we can actually just use the curly brackets. So we can do something like this. It's basically the same as this. However, this time we put f in the front. Sorry, not in the front. In front of a function. Not a function. Sorry again. I kept stuttering today. Of a quotation mark. And in here we use curly brackets and we put in this. So this also converts it into a thing. And that's basically commands explained to you. So last time what we did is we did commands and we did events in here. So now let's continue. So we have did a basic commands. So let me actually delete this. We did basic commands like random and test, but now you might have seen something like this. This is called a Discord embed. What an embed is basically this part here. This part is called an embed because I'm not sure how to explain this, but it is called an embed. So to make an embed, it's pretty easy in Discord. You just have to remember a little bit, but it's fine. So let's do bot.command. What should we display? Async def test embed. Let's do context. So to do an embed, it's pretty easy. We can just do a variable and then we contain it into a bigger variable. So we can do something like m stands for embed. So m equals discord.embed, and then here we have to parse in title and description, and if you want you can also parse in the color, or you can also use color. So title equals test embed, and then description, let's do pink 1234. This is basically the how you actually create this part of the embed. Where is it? This it's like a big part. Hold on, let me find it. This part, I think. Oh no, this part. This is actually a good thing here. Let me see. So this is the title, and then this strip is a color. All right. So now with that being said, let me put this out. So we can also put colors. We can also do color if you're British, or you can also do color equals discord.color dot anything, or to RGB, and then we can also do like, also we have to make this a tuple object. A tuple object is essentially just a bracket inside a bracket. So in here we can do something like, if you want to do like custom colors, we can also do color picker here. So this is a good thing, so we can also you can use this. Let's say we're gonna want something like a pinkish color. We can do hex, we can do RGB. I think we can do hex to hex. Can we do that? Color equals discord dot color dot color. You do like this. So we can copy this, but to me, I think we can do this. Discord dot color to RGB. This is essentially how you make the strip. Now let's make a field. So m equals discord dot add field. No, sorry, we can do m dot add field. So we can do, so what a field is basically it's this thing. This is a single field value. This is the title of the field. This is the value, and this also inline and stuff like that. So essentially an inline field and an inline fields, I'll explain it. So this is an non-inline field, and then we do value is like the small part. So and then it depends if you want to do an inline. If you do not want to do an inline, you can just leave like this. Or if you want to be a little bit more tedious, you can just do inline equals true or false. As I said before, this is a normal inline field. No, not an inline field. This is not an inline field. This is basically a non-inline field, as I said before. This is an inline. Inline fields goes from left to right, and non-inline fields goes from up and down. So we can also do, this is false. Let me do this. To do this, by the way, you can hold Alt Shift and then arrow key down like this. This is an inline field. You can actually do more. It is basically just m. So to do like title is already done, by the way. So that's basically the title. And then you can also do thumbnails. And then you can do set image. You're gonna do set footer. You name it. I'll leave this in the description. This is basically JavaScript. JavaScript's kind of good, by the way. I kind of like that, but I don't really use JavaScript. In fact, I'm still learning. So in Python, it's just m dot, and then these are the list of things. You can set thumbnail, image, footer, set field, add somewhere, set author, blah blah blah. We can do set author. Okay, you know what? We can do this. And then we can just do await ctx.send embed m. This is just sending an embed. But if you want to send an embed, you have to do embed equals and a variable of the embed. So here is just basically how you create embed. So now you can save this and you can run it now. If there's an error, it will yield that, but I'm pretty sure there's not gonna be an error. Okay, so let me do this. Interesting. Tuple has no object R. Where's R? Let me check, guys. Hold on. Self.R, self.G, self.B. Okay. I'm not sure why is this wrong. Oh, maybe we don't need to do that. It's already a tuple. It's already a bracket inside a bracket. I forgot. Sorry, guys. Whatever. My thing has yet reloaded again. Come on. Okay, whatever. Guess can be fixed. This is stupid. Okay, we can now do test embed. Still doesn't work. Right? Interesting. So I'm not sure what happens to the color. I'm not sure if I did something wrong because I haven't used discord.py for like so long to, you know. But this should be what it works. So okay. Let me check this. Okay, let me check this. All right. Test embed. There we go. So essentially what this is that this is basically the person's avatar. We can actually get this, by the way. But I'm not sure how we get the icon and the avatar now. I used to understand how, but you know, I've already forgotten how. So, but yeah, this is basically how Embed works. Yeah. Now let's get to making Cogs. Alright, let's start with what is a Cogs. So, essentially, a Cogs are a feature that basically arranges commands into a folder. So you could have something like, let me do this. Yeah, this is actually a better arrangement for me. So how do we make a Cogs? Well, a Cogs is, as I said before, it's like a folder. So Cogs is it's basically, let's do commands. Oh, wrong. So we do command slash test.py. Let me do this. Okay, so in here, the Cogs is basically a folder inside here. It's basically an extension. So we can actually start making Cogs by doing async def load extensions, and then we can do bot. Actually, we have to do try first. For file name we also need OS, by the way, I forgot. So I'll tell you what an OS is. Actually, OS is basically the thing used inside the operating system. OS is basically operating system, but in terms of Python, it is used for clearing messages, browsing, like, how should I say it? Browse the file thing. So for file name in os.listdir, so this directory is going to be the commands directory here. What /this does is that it basically redirects this to the commands folder. We don't actually need this, by the way, because if you're in the same folder, then if you're in the same folder as what it is, then it will just read inside here. So for file name in here, if file name dot ends with a .py extension, then we will do await bot.load extension. I'll tell you what this is. So a Cogs basically what Cogs does is that it would just do commands dot, and then inside the Cogs, basically it should be test, but we're using a Python file. So basically you have to name. So if you have test.py as a cog, then you cannot include .py, because if you include .py, then it will not work. So it has to be commands.test. So this is the actual cog thing. So inside the cog, which in this case we name it commands. That's basically how it works. So now we can also do async def. Actually, no, we don't need to do this. We can actually unindent this. Do shift tab. This basically unindents. Tab basically indents. Now let's do exception as e print and error occurred. Okay, so we can now put this inside the event, because this will have to run every time that we're trying to, you know, run the bot. So this actually loads extensions within the commands folder. So you know what? Let's test it out. Let's test the command out. So let's say we want to make a ping command and stuff like that. Let me just comment these things. In fact, we can actually bring these into the Cogs folder. So in the Cogs folder, let me oh, sorry. So ignore these, by the way. Inside the Cogs folder, we just have to include discord.x and discord. Import discord from discord.extension import commands. And other extensions, we can also use that, but it's not important. We don't need to put in token, by the way. And in this section, we're gonna be learning about classes. So what is a class? A class is basically a classroom. So a class is basically, as I said before, it's something like a classroom. So a class is basically, a function. It's basically a function that makes a bigger folder. So it contains statement, variables, and functions for whatever this is. It's correct, by the way. So what we do is we do class. Let's do test, and then we do commands.cog. So inside commands.cog is basically, it's a cog, as I said before. So commands.cog, we can do def initialize self bot. You're gonna be asking, what is bot doing here? We did not declare bot. That's right, but it's reading from the main file, so it will know what is a bot. So in an initialized function, we have to put in self. So self.bot equals bot. Self basically says that something that is inside this class will follow something that is initialized here before. It doesn't have to follow this always, by the way. So that's basically how you create this. Now let's do a command. So let's get started. Let's convert all of these into an actual functions and command stuffs. Okay, so now here's the fun part. It doesn't end here. You don't just put all of this in, paste it in, and it will work. The hard part is that you have to do commands.command. This basically means bot.command, but commands are essentially linked to this. So commands.command, we can ignore this, and then let's do test function. So in here we do async def test. Now do you see a fun part yet? That's right. We have to declare a function. We have to declare context. But to declare context, we have to use, because we're in the class, and yeah, we have to do self ctx. This is basically how you actually declare a command, by the way. So now you can do await self.ctx.send. Or now you can actually just do say it ctx.send, because we have declared self. You already declared self. If we did not declare self, in this case we have to do self.ctx.send. Or in fact it will not work at all. So let's say self.ctx.send test, and then this is basically how you create commands. But now, how do you actually create events? Let's say you want to create an event related to messages. So how do you create that? Well, first of all, you do commands. You actually do command. Yeah, that's correct. Commands.cog.listener. What this basically does is that it basically tells the API about it. It basically acts the same, but an event is basically a listener. So I think we need brackets too. Yeah, and then we can do async def on message. So we have to do self message. Now in self.message, we can just basically do the same thing. So if message.author equals bot self bot.user. Sorry, we have to do self here. I forgot to say that whatever is initialized has to follow by a self. So self dot the something you initialized before, and then you have to do this. So we can just do return. So if we do if message dot content equals hello, then while x, let's do some complicated coding. So how about we define x equals 0, and then we want to print something for 100 times. Actually, let's do 1. So for I in range x, for I in range 100. Actually, let's do x equals 100. So 100 times is how many times this will run. So let's do for I in range 100. Then we do hello, and then for the I also forgot to say that you can actually do this, and then you can do dot format, because f string is basically means format string. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And to also add delay, then you can also do import time, or you can also do async IO, but I don't really use that because I don't like it. Then we can do time dot sleep. Let's do sleep 0.5, and of course we have to process commands. So await self.bot.process commands, and that's basically all. Now if you say that, let me actually put this back, by the way. I don't know why I copied there. So, do you think this is already completed? If you answer yes, you're obviously wrong. It's not completed yet, but we can actually make it complete. What we can do is we can type in async def setup, and then we declare bot. In here, we just do await bot.add cog test. Basically, what this means is that this is basically the main function called setup. So this has to be set up. I don't know what I'm talking. It has to be. It is the setup function. You put this. It set up the thing. So in the setup function, we run a specific command. So here basically adds the cog into the main Discord file system. And then we declare the class here, and then inside the class we declare the bot, and that's basically the cog for you. So let's do print loaded commands dot file name. What this basically does is that it puts the cursor at the last period, the last thing, which is y. It puts it beyond here, and then it reduced by 3. So 1, 2, 3. 3 of this is gone, so it's just main. Okay, let's start it. Commands. Oh, interesting. So I forgot to say that anything here that is related to, so any commands that already exist in main.py, let's say in this case is test, if it's also inside here, it will not work. So we have to do is something like test2 or something else. So we have to run this again. I'm not sure why. Maybe I've run it 2 times, I guess. Okay, let me see what's wrong with this. It kind of double sends for some reason. I'm not sure what happened. Let me stop this clear. Let me kill the terminal. Okay, so let me try running this again. Okay, so let's try $test2. Okay, sometimes this happens, but whatever. So we also have the on message function. If we type hello, then hello, and it's just gonna keep. This will keep running forever until it hits 100, which is basically what we defined as x. So yeah, it's just gonna keep going until I press Control C. Okay, let me clear this. I'm not sure why the message is debouncing. I think I have to add the bounce to the message, but for now it works. So that is Cogs for you. Now, after we've done setting up the bot, doing some basic Python, setting first message, events, commands, embeds, basic cogs, and we have done some formattings, let's get started to /commands. I think you guys are pretty excited for this. So essentially, what is /commands? So if you type /in, there's built-in commands, and also there's the, what do I call this? The bot commands. So in the bot commands, let me do me6 /command. So in here, this is the /commands. Here are the /commands. Now let's do /commands. So /commands, something like, it's basically something like MSG test kill yourself or something like that. That's basically /commands. So here's the arguments. So /commands, this is the CTX, and then there's gonna be some brackets like that. Those who we'll talk about later. So how do we actually add slash command? Well, to add slash command, we basically go to our bot.event, and we basically just try to, let me do this. Let me do some little formatting. Okay, so to do a slash command, we have to go to event first. We have to set up something called a tree. So for a tree, we have to do try again. And now here we do sync equals bot.tree.sync. What this means is that it will try to sync commands into the bot. So in here we can do now is that print f synced lend sync command. Oh, sorry, synced commands. So what a lend function does is that it just counts how many thing is inside a thing. So let's say if we have word equals print. Oh, it's down again. Sorry, word. So what this means is that len will count how many letters is inside here. So for this case, we have 5 letters. So it will display 5. But that's basically how we did it. So synced is gonna be in here. Let me just delete this. Now, as a safety precaution, we recommend it is for you guys to actually put this in a guild. So let me tell you the difference between guild and global. So guilds are basically servers. So what I mean here is basically that for the guild commands, this means that the commands will be available to the server only. And then there's the globals. Global are basically commands that are accessible from all servers. Sometimes it is even possible to do it on the person himself. So these are called application. These are all the, what do I call this again? It's like bot application. So it is basically just user install. What a user install is that, you guys remember this called developer portal? When you go to OF2, then you scroll down. I'm not sure why this is not doing that. There we go. So not in OF2, by the way, it's in installation. So installation is basically a new thing that I've never tried before, but I'll consider trying this. So according to what I understand is that user install is basically, you installing something into your thing. So let's say if I installed Me6 into my thing, so I'm just gonna be able to do slash and then any built-in commands to the thing. Let's say if I install test12346 into my basically the Discord account, then I'll be able to do something like test and stuff like that. So that's basically what I'm telling you, is that global are basically commands that are accessible from all servers, including some servers that you might not even know. Guilds are basically the commands that are only accessible in a certain server. In this case, it's a test server. So how do we actually do a guild commands? Well, let's actually define what a guild is first. So let's define guild. Guild is gonna be a discord.object, and then inside we do id equals and then the guild ID. Now, how do you actually get the ID of a server? Well, you see, you have to go to, let me disable this. We have to go to what we call developer settings or advanced. Click on advanced, then here's the thing we call developer mode. So normally if you click here, right click, you're not going to be able to copy the ID. But if you go back here, go to advanced, and then you enable this, then right click here, you're going to see a thing called copy server ID. Now what's good with this is that if you right click on even message, you can copy message ID. Right click here, you can do channel ID, and stuff like that. So let's copy the server ID first. Okay, so we paste it here. This is the server ID. as I said before, this ID means that this is this server. So it means this server. So what we do next is that we're gonna be essentially doing how should I call this? We're gonna put this guild into the spot.tree.sync. So guild equals guild. This basically is this is basically the same as, let me see, hold on, and test, right? I'm not sure. It's a function. That's what I remember. Oh yeah, something like inline. So that's basically what this does. So okay, so now we synced to the specific command, or shall I say a guild. So now how do we actually do command again? You see, I haven't mentioned this, but command, what we have three types of commands. One, this is called a slash command. Two is a context command. What a context command is basically this command, where you have to rely on the command prefix. The third one is called a hybrid command. A hybrid command is basically a command that you can actually, so let's say if I have a command named test, this is a command, by the way. This means is that for a hybrid command, you can either do $test, or you can actually do /test. I'll show you how to do three of these. With this already being done, we're gonna do slash command first. So how do we actually do slash command? Well, you see, to do slash command, we do at bot.tree.command, and inside here we have to define name and the description of the command. So if you go to Discord, you do slash, you're gonna see this is the name, and this is the description of the slash command. So for this case, let's do name being how should I say this? Roast me. I'm just kidding. Let's do luck. No, let's do rate, and then description. Rate something. So what this means is that we have the name being rate. So this will be rate, and this will be rate something. And then this block here is called the block of, how should I say this? It's a block where you have to put in something like the random 1000, but it's in a more readable way. So you can actually do it by doing this. So now we basically do it the exact same, except we have to change a lot of things. So let's do async def rate. Make sure this and this matches, or else it will not work. Now instead of using context, we're gonna have to use a thing called interaction. This is a new way of basically saying context, which is for slash commands only. So let's do it. So interaction : Discord dot capital I of interaction, and then we can do an item. Let's do an item string. So now we can do we can randomize a thing. So we can do, let's do an array. What is an array? Array is essentially things like this. So array is equals to a bracket. So inside a bracket we contain a thing called we put things inside this array. So let's do array, and then inside here, I forgot to tell you guys, but we have to we have to put a value inside here first. So let's say we have to put 50, 20, 100, 50,000. Okay, so now as you can see, there's 4 values in our array, right? Now how do we actually choose one of these? Well, you see, in every single coding language known to mankind, we're gonna have to know a thing called the indexing. So normally we call this 1, 2, 3, 4, right? You see, that's not how it works in Python and every single coding language. To start, you basically have to do is we start from an index of 0. So In this position, it's gonna be 0, 1, 2, and 3. That's why when you do something, you have to do 0. So what array 0 is, it represents 50, 1 represents 20, and so on. So let's do an array. So for this array, let's name it ratings equals, and then this. Let's do bad dog. Let me do poo. Is it thumbs up? Oh yeah, you can actually directly put emojis in here. You can actually do this, which is basically how you do in Discord, or you can also do Windows dot. This brings up the emoji menu, so you can actually choose these things. It's like if you're gonna do thumbs up, you can just type in thumbs up. Oh, actually, just do shrug. Nice, great. What the actual okay, so we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 5 here. We have 5 ratings we can give them. So what we can do now is that we can do rating randomizer equals random dot rand range. No, actually, if we do random dot choice. So this is actually a second command inside the random module. So inside random module, we have randint and we have choice. We also have random.random, which basically randoms the number from 1 to 5, I think. I'm not pretty sure. And there's also rand range. So rand range is basically from, instead of you putting two variables from 10 and 100, so it only looks from 10 to 100, you put in one value. So this means that if you put in 100, then it will look through from 0 to 100. So that's what basically this does. Alright. Okay, so we're gonna do random.choice ratings, and then we respond with await interaction dot response. It's kind of long, I know. Dot send message. My verdict for item is rating randomizer. Okay, so this should work. We can also add backticks, by the way. Backtick essentially is doing this. It basically adds this black thing here, and that's basically what it does. So this is the first type of slash command. Let's run it. Not first type of slash command, sorry. It's the first type of, oh, coroutine has no len. Oh, okay, so I forgot to tell you guys something. So and the sync is, we have to do await bot.tree.sync, or because Discord relies on asynchronous function, so you must put this on, you have to put it on an asynchronous function. So if you're putting on asynchronous function, you have to use await and async. So that's basically what it does. Okay, so let's run this again. Sorry, I got a little bit distracted. Sync is 0 commands. Interesting. Well, the reason is that, well, if you do slash command, there's still nothing. The reason being is that, first of all, in our slash command, in bot.tree.command, we did not specify what guild it has to be. This is basically a normal way to sync a command globally, but we don't want that. So how do we do it? Since our Discord bot's not gonna sync this to a global anyway, so we cannot put anything in here, right? Well, you see, if you do at bot at discord.app commands.guild, then you do this guild. Why is it not working? Hold on. Oh, so this is supposed to be global. Alright, you have to do this. Now you have to add app commands. How do you do that? Just import from Discord, import app commands. App commands is basically the way you put slash commands into Discord. You can also put this into a Cogs, which I'll tell you soon. So stay tuned. Now we can run this, and it should turn into 1 accordingly. As you can see, it became 1. It should not be commands. I failed English, alright. So as you can see, our test 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 has a command called rate. So let's rate an item. Let's say your mom. My verdict for my mom is great. Nice job. So that's basically what slash command is. Now let's go to the second type of command, which is hybrid command, because we already did context commands. Context commands are basically these things that use context. To do a hybrid command, rate 1. So we do bot.hybrid command. Inside here we just do the same as this, but instead of we using the interaction thing, we can use context now. So async def rate, let's do rate, async def rate context, and then item is string. Let me do discord.appcommands.guild. Okay, and then let me just copy the entire thing from here to here. Now in here we just change it to ctx.send, and basically this does the same thing, but now we just do some slash commands thing. Oh, rate already registered. Oh, okay. Rate 1. I'm not sure if this works. I haven't tested a hybrid command for so long because I was so focused on actually making slash commands, but that works. So now we have these. Let's try out the rate command. So slash rate test2 your data your data is okay. Nice. Okay, so now that works, but we can also do rate me. So you see it kind of works, but like it run 2 times, which I still don't know why, but eventually I'll try to figure out how to fix this. So that's basically all for this entire tutorial, I guess. Oh, actually, let's try doing it in Cogs. How do we actually do it in Cogs? So to do this in the Cogs, we just have to copy some things. One thing is that we have to copy the guild. So copy this. Let's go to test.py, and we can put this here. Why not? We also have to import from Discord, import app commands, because instead of that we're gonna need this. So I think you know what we're gonna do now. Instead of using commands.command, we use app commands.command. Name equals cog test description test cog, I guess, and then I'm just gonna let this thing do something. Async def cog test self item hello item. Let's try this. Oh, before that we have to do is app commands.guild. Then we do guild, because now we're using the cog. We don't need to do discord.appcommands.guild, so we can use app commands directly. In fact, we don't actually need to do here too. We can actually just delete this out. You can do this like this. Okay, now this is the last run. Let's try this out. Commands listener must not start with cog or bot in test method. Oh, okay. Interesting. So we cannot start with cog test. E-test. Let's do e-test. Alright, let's try this out. Oh. Okay, let me try this now. Oh wait, wrong file, sorry. Okay, there we go. It doesn't, what? That's kind of weird. Let me try this. Me, hello con. That works. The thing doesn't work is that it doesn't print this. Oh, it doesn't print this for some reason, but it's fine. But yeah, that's basically the entire course on discord.py. If you like this course, make sure to give a like, and if you don't, just dislike, and please tell me why so I can improve this better. Anyways, with that out of the way, and that's basically all for this course. See you guys later. and I apologize for not uploading anything literally at all. Anyways, see you guys.